Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this updated video. And so in this video, we'll be talking about what is going on in the Atlantic. So we have newly formed Tropical Storm EARL to talk about, as well as Danielle. And then over in the Eastern Pacific, we're going to briefly talk about what is going on over there because there are two systems. And so before I go into details, Alright, so let's go ahead and start out with the Eastern Pacific. And so there are currently two active systems over there. So we have Javier as well as a tropical disturbance given a very high chance to develop. And so that could become Tropical Storm K very soon. And so Javier is expected to be making that curve out into the open waters, but a tropical storm watch is in effect for the Baja California Peninsula. And so it's likely that some of those areas will be experiencing tropical storm-like conditions while the storm passes, but Javier is expected to weaken by tomorrow and eventually dissipate as we head throughout the new week. And so as for that new disturbance, it is likely going to be bringing a lot of heavy rainfall to portions of the southwestern coast of Mexico. So persons there should definitely be on the lookout for flash flooding and landslides as a result of all of the heavy rainfall that is expected. And so drifting to the Atlantic basin now. So we have our two tropical cyclones, Danielle and Earl, being active. So Earl became a named storm last night, and it is currently in the vicinity of the northeastern Caribbean, and so it is likely to bring some impacts to those areas. And then we have Danielle, which is located well to the west of the Azores, and it has weakened slightly. So looking at the cone forecast for Danielle, we're seeing here that it is expected to have that general northeastward track eventually as we head into the early part of the new week, and it currently has maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour, just shy of a hurricane, with a westward track at just 1 mile per hour. So it's almost stationary out there. And so the storm is not in very highly conducive conditions, speaking in terms of the sea surface temperatures. So even though the shear might be conducive in the area and there is not much dry air intrusion, the system is still very far north. And so we typically don't even have systems that develop so far intensifying a lot. But they are warmer than normal temperatures up there, and that is the main reason we've seen Danielle even form. So it is expected to re-strengthen into a hurricane and eventually intensify a little bit, maybe remaining as a Category 1. So the National Hurricane Center was expecting that this would peak as a Category 2 hurricane, but now it seems as though Danielle is going to be remaining as a Category 1. But let's see what's going to be happening with it as time goes by. And again, it is not expected to be a threat to land. All right, now let's move on to what the model intensity guidance is showing for Danielle. And so we're seeing that majority are expecting that it will be having Category 1 status at peak. One model showing a Cat 3, one showing a Cat 2. And I think that this is going to be remaining as a Category 1 because sea surface temperatures are very vital for tropical cyclones, and being in just the marginally conducive waters is not enough to enable this to intensify to something as major as a Category 3 hurricane. So I don't think Danielle is going to intensify that much. But moving on to Earl. So here is the current satellite imagery of Earl, and we are seeing that it is looking a little bit compact here, and we have quite a bit of shower and thunderstorms associated with the system, and it is likely going to be bringing impacts to portions of the northeastern Caribbean. So let's go ahead and take a look at that cone forecast for it. And so even though this is likely to bring heavy rainfall to portions of the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico, none of these areas are under a tropical storm watch or warning because intense conditions are not expected, but that increased rainfall could still be significant because once we have an extensive period of a lot of heavy rainfall, then it is possible that there can be flash flooding, especially in low-lying areas. So please be aware of that, guys. Don't take it lightly that the system is just going to be passing and not affecting your area. So impacts might be minimal in some areas, but it could be more significant in others. So we're seeing that Earl is expected to remain as a tropical storm as we head throughout this week, and This was previously known as Invest 91L, and I mentioned previously in my other videos that we could see this persevering and getting itself together, and that's what happened last night. So this is why we now have this system becoming a named storm. So it has sustained winds of 40 miles per hour at the max, and then it is accelerating to the west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. So it's not in a very highly favorable environment, and so it's not expected to strengthen much during the next couple of days, but it is going to start making that curve maybe sometime about Monday, and then by Thursday we should see it curving out to sea and not being a threat to land. But we could see this thing intensifying more, especially if conditions out there become more conducive. And so what are the models showing for Earl? So in terms of the model intensity guidance, we're seeing that quite a bit of are agreeing that after about maybe say 3-4 days it is going to start intensifying a lot more, and we could see it becoming a hurricane, some going all the way up to be in a category 3, which isn't impossible once conditions are just right. So we need that favorable shear. Those very warm ocean waters are already there, and we need that moist environment, so not much dry air intrusion. And I think that it is possible that we could see Earl become something major out there while not being a threat to land. So looking at conditions now, starting off with the wind shear. So green means favorable, yellow means neutral, and red means unfavorable. So we see that we have some unfavorable shear up ahead for Earl, and that is going to be helping to limit intensification of the system. That is one reason it is not expected to intensify into anything very significant as of right now. And as for Danielle up there, Danielle is in a favorable environment in terms of the wind shear, so that is not really a problem for it at this time. Going to the water vapor map, the yellows indicate that we have dry air, and where we have those blues and then those whites and greens, those indicate moisture and showers and thunderstorms. And so there we have Earl right within that region. A little bit of dry air that's up ahead for it, and this might not impact the system a whole lot. So guys, as time goes by, let's see what's going to be happening with both of these systems here. But we are approaching the peak of the hurricane season, and models have been suggesting that we could even be seeing something else by the end of this week. But only time will tell what is going to be eventually happening, because nothing that we're seeing now is ever guaranteed to be the actual outcome. But one thing for sure is that this is the time of year that we should be watching the tropics very closely, as some major storms could be produced. And we've seen time and time again where we have major hurricanes developing in September, and even unprecedentedly intensifying out there. So let's see what the rest of this hurricane season has to offer, especially the peak. So go into this month and maybe the early part of September, we could see something very major. But of course, I will be keeping you guys updated on what is going on out there in the tropics. And so that is really it for this updates video. And if you found it to be quite informative, please leave a thumbs up, and you can share your thoughts in the comments or ask a question. I'll try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.